This video is a very brief overview of important aspects of musical modernism that you should expect to find in your readings about the period. Musical modernism is generally thought to have begun in the 1890s with the music of Mahler, Richard Strauss, Debussy, Scriabin, and then later Stravinsky and Schoenberg. Some would argue that musical modernism continues to the present day. Others might see us in some sort of post-romantic, postmodern, or post-postmodern state. High musical modernism embraced diversity and extremes in timbres, instrumental combinations, and non-resolving dissonances. There was a new knowledge of non-Western musics and continued forging of relationships between the arts. Perhaps at no other time was the dichotomy between tradition and the avant-garde more strongly felt, as Max Klinger's sculpture of Beethoven suggests. This work uses a modern conglomerate of different angles, stones, and metals to depict Beethoven as an ancient god on a chariot or throne. The tension between the past and present intensified as World War I dashed blind optimism in human progress. Many musicians took a second look at tonal music, writing emotionally detached compositions of a neoclassical aesthetic between the world wars. As I hope you have learned from your reading, musical modernism, and 20th century music more generally, was a time of diverse aesthetic movements. From the early 20th century cubism and primitivism in Picasso's painting of the Demoiselles of Avignon, to the minimalism of Sol LeWitt's Cube Red from 1991. Modernist musical materials are equally eclectic, from the use of traditional instruments in new ways to the use of electronically produced sound. Finally, modernist compositional processes have spanned traditional tonal processes through non-tonal, 12-tone, serialist, and chance musics. One of the first important aesthetic movements in musical modernism was Impressionism. The moniker is taken from the visual arts, where it was originally used in negative criticism of works by Monet. For this reason, painters and musicians alike initially rejected the term, although it quickly became a more objective and even positive term of description. The music of Claude Debussy, with its chord planing, blurred harmonies, unusual scales, and distinct timbres, powerfully embodies the Impressionist aesthetic. Expressionism was the reigning avant-garde aesthetic movement in Vienna circa 1900. Expressionism aimed for the outward expression of the most intense, subjective inner human emotions. Expressionist works by painters such as Edvard Munch, Gustav Klimt, and Oskar Kokoschka tended to be episodic and disjunct. Expressionism in music also tends towards the episodic and discontinuous, and grew out of the dissonance and new timbres of late Romantic music. Unfortunately, this brief presentation has only begun to capture the breadth of 20th century music. Keep these images of important musicians and social figures in mind as you read more about the period in a good music history book and as you watch other videos.